Welcome back, everybody. Episode 3. What's on your mind?
What's on my mind?
Welcome back to the Walker Family Podcast.
Welcome back, everybody. We're happy to have you. What's on your mind, Jonathan? How was your day today?
My day was actually pretty depressing.
Yeah.
It was a tough day. We got ideas. We got dreams to open this new business. But there seems to be a lot of hurdles. And it seems to be one thing after another. We order things from India. Not to share too many details.
It's a piece of machinery.
Yeah. Then it doesn't work. And I go to India to check on the equipment.
Purchase said equipment. View said equipment.
Yeah. And it still doesn't work.
Yeah.
Or it gets here and the purchased equipment is damaged.
Damaged and also doesn't work.
Yeah. It doesn't work like it's supposed to work. And so...
And this is... I'm going to fill you all in. This is the second machine that we've ever brought into Fiji. It's not the first try. We're on the second round here.
Yeah. And so...
So John said to me this morning, we're done with the idea. We're giving up, no more. And I was like, well, we'll see about that. Let's deal with the manufacturers. Let's go into, like, the next stages of the process of, like, agony and pain, dealing with whatever we're dealing with here. You know, I think there's levels to what we can accomplish, and, like, let's not be crushed by these obviously painful moments, but let's not be crushed by them, right?
Yeah.
Well,
it's hard when you are in the moment and looking or trying to step out and get perspective, looking on things. But I think that's why my morning routine is important. Just getting the blood flowing, spending some time in the Word, in the Bible, and figuring out, you know, I guess just coming from a position of gratitude instead of a position of frustration, and realizing that, you know, I have a lot of things to be grateful for instead of being upset.
I think, like, Jonathan, you especially, like, when moments of, like, impact hit you, hardships, like, you really need that day-to-day schedule and, like, consistency within, like, your program of the day. Like, just to go back, I keep, like, pushing our marriage date forward, but this summer in July we'll be married for 12 years. I know we have some time to come, but I love to round it up. Since for 11 and a bit years you've been waking up between 4:30 and 5:30 in the morning every day and working out, and you love to say that I'm exhausted in the morning. It's probably because you've been waking up at 4:30, 5:30 every day, waking me up. I'm a bit of a light sleeper. So you've been getting up, you know, after 2 alarms, and now I'm awake, and you go for your morning exercise, devotions, that kind of thing. But it does seem to put you in a better mood, give you some stability, consistency to deal with the hardships of life. What do you feel like? Why does that ground you? Why is that a great thing for you? Why do you feel like that allows you to deal with, like, the impact of the day, the hardship of the day?
Well, I think for me, the easiest thing, or the best way to schedule my day, is to get the sucky things out of the way first. And for me to start the morning off with 100 burpees and 100 push-ups or whatever that is at the moment, and to get that out of the way first, sets me up to feel like, oh, already did the sucky things first, so the rest of the day is just a bunch of stuff that I need to do, you know, if it's one of those kind of days. But the hard stuff was already done. The hard stuff was done first, therefore the next things are... That was Stephanie killing a cockroach, I assume.
That was me killing if you heard the thump thump, I was killing a cockroach on the bed. Sorry about that.
So getting the sucky things out of the way first is important to me because it makes me feel like the rest of the day is not a big deal. And so I think at this moment in life, the even no matter how brutal or how miserable I make my wake up be, as far as getting some sort of workout in, because life is really inconsistent right now. I'm not making my workout the most miserable part of my day. And so therefore other things seem more miserable. So I'm used to making the mornings be the most miserable. It sounds super messed up.
It is really messed up.
For those people out there, it seems really messed up. But it's just what I'm used to. I was just used to having a really difficult first 2 hours in the day, feeling really successful for having made it through, being that a really heavy lifting program or a really intense CrossFit style workout, and now, just having done 100 burpees and 100 push-ups.
Let me give you a little insight to this. Jonathan loves anything that is more twisted or difficult or like too hard or whatever for other people to do that he can accomplish within like the exercise realm. Like I look at him and he's like, he revels in like, oh, that's really hard. Okay, I'm gonna accomplish that, and I'm gonna make like whoever I'm working out with feel like they have to push harder or something like that. Like I feel like you want to out pain other people, where me, I struggle. Like I am not a morning person. I also hate that Jonathan wakes me up so early every morning.
It's not early.
It's 4:30, 5:30 is early for me.
That's when I get up. I try to get you up at like 7:30.
Yeah, you wake me up still. I'm a light sleeper. It takes me like
Fair
half an hour, an hour to go back to bed, and then you're like instantly like, hey, it's time to get up again. And I'm like, I am dying. Give me my coffee. Bring a tray with my latte and let me sniff the golden goodness of that, and then I will maybe inspire my brain to go, I have to roll over to drink my coffee, and that makes me cognitive.
Oh my god.
And I am happy to divulge like the pain at the end of the day, my frustrations and my anger and my like irritation later in the evening. I've got that. But in the morning I'm like, I am dying here. I am an overachiever, but not in the morning. Give me till 8 a.m., please. Please.
All right. We'll try tomorrow. I'm going to get you up at 8 a.m.
All right. Tomorrow. Ooh, we're having a late night. It's 9 tomorrow. Just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. We're recording this podcast at 12:15.
Yeah. There you
All
go.
right. Just trying to get things done.
Yeah, life. It's been like busy, not busy. It's been a weird little couple weeks here. We've been house sitting. It's kind of like hashtag holiday, hashtag work holiday, hashtag stressful.
Too many hashtags.
It's life. It is.
But
it is. We're looking.
How
forward
do you?
to...
So we had some friends from Canada come, and one of the things that's been on my mind in the last couple of weeks is mental health.
Ooh.
And our friends who came from Canada had some very close friends, very close friends. One of them, they were married. One of them took their life, and so it was the gentleman in the couple. They'd only been married for about half a year, I think, and he ended up taking his life. And so, luckily with technology these days, we were able to watch the funeral from afar. We didn't know the people, me and Stephanie, but our friends obviously did. They're very, very
and it
close.
was heartbreaking nonetheless.
Yeah, but it was something I actually wanted to talk about last week because it happened, I think, the day that we recorded the podcast. But I think maybe it was just a bit too raw. I think we were all up in our feels about it, in our emotions, and didn't really know how to process it. But where are you at with that?
Where am I at with that situation?
Yeah, or just that kind of stuff in general.
No. I think, like, if I look at where we are in Fiji and what happens to society here, like, I think suicide, no matter what, is awful. And honestly, not even understandable to me because I see the impact that it makes on everybody else and how heartbreaking it is for everybody else that survives it.
Yeah.
I think in Fiji, to be honest, I think, like, from what I've heard, and I don't know stats, I don't know anything, but I think it's actually like a pretty big deal within Fiji. And I think this happens more commonly than I'd like to even acknowledge. I think it's a pretty sad situation that people are put into situations for whatever reasoning, um, that they are so broken and they're so lost, and they don't see any way out, and they feel like this is the last resort for them, to take their lives. And it's heartbreaking for us to watch, and even with people we don't know, because we know that God loves them, we love them. The heartbreak surrounding it is just astronomical.
Yeah, but the crazy part about this particular situation was that, I mean, as many of you know that, we are believers and, we love Jesus and we believe that, he's given us salvation and he's redeemed us for, what happens after this life and what happens in this life, this 80, 90, 100 years, whatever that we're gifted with, is just a short time in the span of eternity. And so, like, what do you think about, if you take your, what happens if you take your life early?
Gosh, okay, well, I feel like it's being thrown at me. I did Google some things about it, like biblical things, just looking at Bible verses and just kind of wrapping my head around it. And one thing I read that I resonated with was saying, like, suicide is like murder. It's self-murder. And that's equal to the sin of murder. And I think within, like, sin, like, all sin under God is equal. And so if lying and murder are equal, to God those are equal sins, but not to say that the punishment for those sins are equal in the sense of consequences. So, like, if I lie, I have people that don't trust me anymore. That's my consequence. Yeah. If I murder somebody, number one, I have to live with the guilt of murder. Number two, hopefully I get punished by the law and I get my life taken away and I get put in jail for...
I hope so too.
Well, yeah, but...
You're a terrible person.
Within suicide... Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Within suicide, like, you're taking your own life. And the punishment doesn't really fall upon you as much, like, it will maybe in heaven. I don't know what that looks like up there. But really, the punishment ends up falling on everybody else around you. And so I think, like, up in heaven, I hope that you can see the consequences of your actions and the sorrow that you've inflicted on the rest of the people around you. I really feel that the punishment for that is the people that suffer because of you.
Yeah, I agree. I don't really know where that ends as far as, somebody taking their life and then, being a believer and going to heaven. I know that different religions have different thoughts on where that would land and where that would place them in eternity. But if I'm honest, I don't fully know. I think, or I know that according to what we do on this earth is the the level to which our kingdom in heaven is built, and I believe that translates into how much we are able to enjoy the glory of God. So I don't know if taking your life, if the end, the last thing that you do on earth is take your life, if that affects, I guess of course it affects, but I don't know to what extent it affects, the amount that you're able to enjoy God's glory in heaven.
Yeah, and I think I wish I had time before we had this conversation online, I guess, to do some research or even call my dad, who's a pastor that I feel like is really theologically sound, to get some insight into of just where it all lands. But I think at the end of the day, like, I don't know, at the moment I feel, and I could be very wrong, I feel like sin is sin. And if our sins are forgiven when we accept Jesus as our Savior, like past and future, that this is included. And I think it's a traumatizing, horrifying way to go. And I'm not sure. There's really not a lot more.
The crazy part about like this situation was that the gentleman had just gotten married like less than a year ago. And like everybody around him seemed to be such an inspiring figure, and
looked so happy.
Looked so happy. Played a lot of like positive roles in the community. Actually played a lot of positive roles in the community.
Well, and I think like our friends that came to Fiji to visit us, they're a beautiful couple. He's Fijian, she's Canadian, and they're coming to Fiji to see his family. And obviously it's a hard time to come with all this turmoil. She was mentoring the wife, and they were close with the entire family, and the kids were close, and I think that was hard for them to be here, and we're really thankful to have the time to walk through that with them and just try to be a support to them. And they were going off to their actually Fijian village. I think it's actually, you guys would be really surprised at how many people are coming from overseas with spouses, not just wives, husbands and wives.
Yeah, but okay.
What, like that are from other cultures?
How typical is it that there is a white woman married to a Fijian guy?
Well, it doesn't have to necessarily be white. It can be from any other culture.
It can be from anywhere, but let's be honest.
Let's be honest with what?
I mean, me and you might reflect 85% of the Fijian to Kaiwalangi relationships.
Sure. From what we've seen, there's a lot of white women. We call it the White Wives Club.
It's true. It's true. Okay, so me and Steph were friends with a lot of people from, it's all over the world, but where we used to live, there was a bunch of guys who were from Africa, specifically Nigeria, and it just so happened that, I wasn't obviously Nigerian, but all of the people in the group seemed to be, all the guys were Nigerian, and all the girls were Canadian. Well, and I was like the one-off guy who was like not fully colored, but half colored.
Yeah, but let's not forget, we also have like the Islander Club within our city that all also had white wives.
Fair enough.
So we call it the White Wives Club, that we don't fit in, and all the bros get together and like do their thing, and we're like, I have no idea what's going on, and you guys just like hang out and vibe together and drink your cava or eat your Nigerian food that you love, which is also amazing.
Ooh, the goat, whatever they make.
Like goat stew of some sort. Yeah. Spicy as heck, tasty.
Oh,
so tasty.
So good.
So anyway, White Wives Club, that is a thing that happens.
It's so true. The White Wives Club. Yeah.
Yeah, we don't really. It's mostly because we're all just sitting there being like, so do you understand what's actually happening? Do you know when you go to Fiji, what's going on? What's your advice for me to fit in better? So then there's
John on the side, like the random half Islander, half Canadian Dutch guy from Central Canada, being like, I totally know what's going on in all these situations. I mean, I'm the one like half Islander amongst all these Nigerian guys, like, I'm cool. I know what's going on.
Yeah.
Not.
I think like within our friends that are Fijian, I know nothing about Nigerian culture, so let's stay away from that. Let's talk about the Islander culture, because we have an idea of that. I think within like the women there, like especially our friends that came, I look at my village experience and then I look at hers, and we'll like talk and compare. And I've had this happen lots over the last 3 years. A lot. I've had a lot of women. A lot of women. You'll be really surprised, John, that have messaged me, that I have Skype phone called with, and given the like down low of like what's going to happen, what they should expect. And like their mentality of going into the village and like hopefully a little bit of help for them. And then if talking to girlfriends that have also gone, like this friend that was just here, and her village experience, I'm gonna be honest, so much harder than mine.
So much harder.
So much harder.
Yeah, like even your village experience is harder than a lot of others.
Yeah.
But like our friend who just came from Canada, who's visiting over the Christmas holidays, her experience has been typically a lot more intensive than your village experience ever was.
And I think some people think like...
And I don't take credit for that. You're welcome.
I think a lot of people have said like she's a bit of like maybe like, it's too hard, like complaining about it. But I'm like, respect to her. She's had to stay in a village house that she slept in the main living area of the house. And when she stretched out her arms, she touched somebody that she doesn't know.
Oh yeah, this is full on village living.
And they're all sleeping in one communal area, and she's going, just kind of like in her sleep, putting her arms up, and then touching some random person's head and going, oh, I don't know who you are. Absolute panic, and going back to her own like personal bubble space that we're really used to in like especially Canada. And I think, like for us, we've always been really fortunate. We've had a family house that my mother and father-in-law have been very generous to build and put extensions on, and we've always had our own room, regardless of how amazing or beautiful it was, or we didn't have power when we first came. I thought that was hard, that we had no electricity and we'd gaslight lanterns, and we all had to sit on the floor for every meal. I did not have to sleep in a communal area with multiple other people. And I'm going to say the things that I've heard from her have been difficult, to the point where I'm like, okay, girl, good for you. I don't know how you're getting through this. Like, wow.
Yeah, and this kind of goes back to what we were talking about last episode or the episode before that, and that everybody's Fiji is different.
Yes.
And like, we're really good friends with people who have and own resorts on islands that belong to them, and life is very different for them there. We're friends with people who rent homes in tourist destinations. Life is very different for them there. And for us, life is a certain way. It is not sleeping in a living room with 15 or 20 other people.
Yeah.
And reaching above your head to stretch out in the night and touching somebody else's head. It's not that intensive, but it is village life.
And there's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah, no. There's nothing wrong with it at all. But it is village life in that anybody can show up to your house at any time and request X, Y, and Z from you. Or you might come back to your house and there might be 20 people on your veranda enjoying a Yangona session together. Also, nothing wrong with that. But I think it's a bit more mild, but we experience it over a long period of time. And so it feels similar, but it's not. It's just different. And I think that's what's really interesting and unique about Fiji, is that everybody's Fiji is different. Like right now, we're in the Coral Coast. Okay, we're on the main island. We're in between Nadi and Seaqaqa, and we happen to be right on the beach. And it's a beautiful place. It's beautiful 99, like we were talking about today, Stephanie. It's beautiful 99% of the year.
Yeah.
Actually, probably 99.9% of the year.
Or but more than every year.
Yeah, but there is that 0.1% of the year where you might get a hurricane. You happen to be situated close to a river that comes from wherever up in the mountains and right on the ocean, which is awesome because you can sit on the veranda and enjoy a nice tropical drink and watch your kids in the kayak. But for that 0.1% of the year, you're up to your waist in water watching the storm surge come into your house.
Yeah. Yeah. And oh my gosh, how difficult is that? Like, I'm
So
sorry.
everybody's Fiji's different.
I'm not willing to deal with this storm surge. That's traumatizing. It's traumatizing.
So would you say, like, we live kind of in, it's not the sticks, it's the bush. It's not the sticks, but it's kind of like the sugarcane bush of Fiji up in the north. But, like, I don't think we've ever been flooded out in our village.
No, and I would rather live there.
So would you
than
rather
I would
live
on the
there?
Ocean. Yeah, I would.
Than live right on the ocean? Okay, you have access to... Okay, I'll give you a boat in this potential situation. I'll give you a boat. You can go fishing. You can go, like, check out some beaches. You can go to different sandbars. But... like in the hurricanes, when it hits, it's gonna hit you hard.
No, because
or you can live in our village, which is in the inland, and it's never been flooded. But it's inconvenient. You don't get the boat, and you don't get access to the ocean, but you do get the river. 99% of the year.
Yeah, but
what do you choose?
It's all perspective. Like,
what do you choose?
Like, okay, when we first moved here, the first year that we came, we had a cyclone Yasa, and we had Anna. Honestly,
can you not say it like Yasa?
No, that is
say Yasa?
how I speak. Yasa. Anyway, I literally went to bed, and I was so stressed. I've never been through a cyclone. I thought we were gonna die. The whole house was moving. I just went, you know what? I actually don't want to die stressed out. I went and laid down with our children, put my headphones in, put some white noise on, and went,
you're not lying.
I want to die relaxed, and if we die, I'm going to die with my children in this room, relaxed. I'm not going to die stressed out. I just do not want to, and there is no reason to be stressed about death. So I will go to bed, put my headphones in, and Jonathan can stress in the living room about his truck, because that's all he was stressing about, and I'm just going to go to bed, and if he survives, he can survive alone, because I have to die where my children are and in peace. That's kind of how I felt. And I know our friends that own the island with this resort on it, they went underwater. And their situation was way more stressful than our situation. And
way more stressful.
I cannot handle that. I was so traumatized the next few days after. Like, I just didn't realize, like, the next day I just, like, walked out in shock, and everybody was like, okay, we're going to just take a day to relax, and then we'll recuperate and clean up the next day. And I was like, how are we not just trying to, like, push forward and start cleaning up now? And luckily everybody was wiser than me and was just like, let's just take a day to, like, breathe, and tomorrow we will deal with this mayhem.
Yeah.
Because I didn't realize I was in shock. And I think living inland for me, and not having these traumas of, like, I don't know, floods, and, like, our friends that own the island, they went completely underwater. Half their resort was. They all thought they were going to be on palm trees floating away, strapped to them, hoping they survive. And I was, like, already thinking I was going to die. Like, give me a snowstorm, baby. Give me snow up to my roof. I am comfortable. I am fine. Give me minus 60. I am fine. I'm not traumatized whatsoever. Give me, like, some wind and some rain and some trees knocking down, and I'm crying in my bed, traumatized as heck, and I don't know if I can come out of my house.
It's true.
So I think perspective and what you're used to is really relative in the moment of, like, what's coming at you, what's new, what's your personal experience, what are you comfortable with?
Yeah, like where we are right now, the friend that we have, we're looking after his place. That's why we're in Seaqaqa right now on the Coral Coast. Is like, if it's anything over a Category 3, get your vehicles up to higher ground. If it's not, just don't worry about it, basically. Like, put things away, do up the shutters, but you should be good. And I'm like, dude, if it's a low pressure system...
We love you, but we're
We
out.
love you, but
I will lock and
here.
Secure your house.
We're going into
and I will
City
take your
Highlands.
vehicle separately.
Yeah.
I will save the really expensive things, but I'm out.
For real. Yeah, so yeah, I don't know if we're really prepared for, or I guess conditioned.
We're not conditioned for it.
Conditioned for, experiencing life on the ocean.
And I think, like, we're in this weird, really weird in-between stage. Like, where when we went back to Canada for our holiday, we hadn't seen our family in, well, we'd seen
Almost
Jonathan's
3 years.
family, but I hadn't seen my family in almost 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
We came back. Part of our trip was in minus 26 to minus 15, minus 10. I was freezing for 7 weeks. I was cold. I didn't stop being cold until I sat in a sauna. I was just like shivering.
Yeah.
So climate-wise, we're adjusted to Fiji.
Yeah.
But like, I've also lived in Canada for almost, 29, 30 years. I'm used to what's going on there. Fiji, we've only been here 3 years. I'm an infant here. Right? We're still experiencing life and like newness.
Speaking about experiencing life, the highlights of 2022, and looking back on the year, because this will probably be our third and final podcast of 2022.
Oh,
What do you think was one of the highlights from 2022? I'll help you out. What do you think of this going back to January? I don't know if you can remember, but the Tongan volcano.
oh my
Do you
God.
remember?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so I was in the village, and Jonathan was out spearfishing with our friend in Savo. So we were not together.
I wasn't spearfishing that day. I was out with my friend Michael from Immersion
Okay.
Fiji. Check him out. I was out with him and his dad, I believe, because
Okay.
in the new year, yeah. So this time of the year and going into the new year, the yellowfin tuna are out. And so we're out chasing these crazy huge schools of yellowfin tuna. And we're like, this is the freaking bomb. And so for those of you who don't know, my number one love is fishing. Second, rugby. I would play rugby right now if my wife, Stephanie.
We had an agreement.
We have an agreement. We won't get into that right now. We might get into it later on this podcast or on another podcast. But anyways.
Ask us about
That's
it.
my second love is rugby. First love is fishing. So I'm out just having the
Wait,
time
let's be
of my
real.
life.
First love is me.
First love is Stephanie. Second love is fishing. Third love is rugby. Meat mop.
There you go. You're welcome.
Yeah.
Okay, anyway,
so second
back
love is
to...
fishing. So I'm out on the ocean during the Tongan volcano eruption.
Okay, so John's nowhere in sight. I am watching our children, making sure everybody's okay. I'm cleaning the house, doing office work, whatever I normally do. And then all of a sudden, just like huge explosions.
It sounded like I don't know, World War, whatever you want to call it. Cannons.
I thought it was a cannon at first, and I just heard explosion, and then I was like, no, this is a volcano. I knew after, don't even give me that look. I knew after the second explosion that it was a volcano, but I thought it was erupting within Fiji, and I was looking around. John had the truck, and I was like, okay, how do I get our children out of here? Can I drive this tractor anywhere I need to? Can I get it across a river if I have to get out of here quickly?
Had I taught you how to drive the tractor at
No.
that time?
No, and I was like, I am a pretty competent driver.
Yeah, you know how to drive stick.
I can figure this out.
Yep.
And I was just figuring out in my mind, how do I load our children on the tractor so they're safe? And how do I haul out of here? And which direction am I going? And I'm like messaging people. I'm Googling.
You messaged me.
I messaged you.
I got a message.
And people in the village, like, these cannons are going off, these explosions are going off, and people in the village are like, ah! Ah! And I'm like, guys, this is making it way more traumatic. I'm traumatized over here. So, that was quite the explosive experience. This volcano eruption happened in Tonga.
Yeah.
And I have no idea the
Please
distance.
say it properly, though. Please say Tonga.
Yeah.
Tonga.
This is... All right. We're not even going to...
These explosive eruptions happened in Tonga.
There you go. Jonathan's etiquette. And
Please say it properly.
I can't? So
you will say it properly.
I'm just looking at you going, I can barely say Vinakava. Vinakava. I'm laughing too much. Okay. Vinakanakana, kere kere wakatengo.
Not bad.
There you go. That
I'll
I
give you a
practiced
2
that
out
for
of 10.
years. That has been
Yeah.
years of work. So anyway, there has been explosions over in Tonga, and we've heard them in Fiji, and they felt close. And luckily, there was no impact to our island, as far as I know. But it was scary,
Well,
to say the least.
there was a tsunami that hit our island, or hit.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
it wasn't.
Fiji.
It wasn't big though.
It wasn't big, but it was. Yeah, it wasn't big. It was medium.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not that
It was
worried.
definitely a bigger wave than usual, and it brought a lot of stuff up. That
Yeah, but we're far enough distance, so
Yeah.
I think that was definitely an interesting moment of the year.
yeah, that was crazy. So I was out, like I said, my second love is fishing. First love's obviously Stephanie. I love Stephanie, but
Okay, really though, if he says it in that voice again, somebody else can come up to him in the streets and just slap him.
so I love fishing, obviously. So I was out fishing for yellowfin tuna, and we hear these crazy booms going off, just like in the atmosphere. It doesn't even feel like it's in our zone, and I just thought it was thunder. I just thought it was just like the weirdest thunder I'd ever heard. I didn't know that Tonga, I think, is like some, like, I don't know, I want to say like 900 to 1,500 kilometers away from Fiji, like a significant distance. And we could hear it, like loud thunder happening from where we were.
Okay, so guys, in an emergency, be with me, because I realize the urgency of the moment.
It's true.
And
it's
Jonathan's going, thunder, and I'm going, oh my gosh,
true. No,
Fiji has a volcano erupting. How do I save my children?
No, I'm more like, the yellowfin tuna are biting. It's that time of the year, and it's time. Okay, so it's
Priorities.
it's more like, okay, it's 800 kilometers, but 800 kilometers, and you can hear the thing exploding or erupting, and it turns out to be like hours later that the tsunami hits, but it was crazy. It was crazy that you could hear that, and that people all around Fiji were like, what the heck is going on? So that was probably one of the highlights from 2022.
Yeah, I keep forgetting what year it is.
Yeah, the last 3 years has kind of been a blur. So that was
Brutal.
That was actually literally the beginning of 2022. Going on through the year, in February, I got super stuck in the tractor. Do you remember that? I picked up the tractor from our driver, and I was like, "Oh, I know how to do this. I'm gonna go to my own land and or our own lease, and plow." And made a couple rounds successfully. Was doing a good job. I think it was about 5 lines that I made.
Is that in that flat area?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And got way too bogged.
You got really stuck.
Really stuck. The tractor was in there for about 2 days. What did I do to get out? I tried a whole afternoon of chain and logs, and then finally, actually, being a Toyota guy, we had the Land Cruiser from the village. One of my uncles in the village owns a 79 series single cab Land Cruiser, and he drove out into the swamp basically, and we did this system where you put a chain around the tire of the tractor and anchor it to the bumper. Well, we anchored it to the bumper of the Land Cruiser, and just in first gear, low range, turned it, diff locks on, and just pulled the tractor right out.
Yeah,
And
what
so,
a beast.
What a beast. Yeah, Land Cruiser just reversed right out like nothing ever happened. And because I had tried a couple different techniques, I had ripped the valve stem off the tire, so I had to take that to a mechanic and have that all fixed up. But yeah, so that was interesting.
John in the moment being like, I'm a farmer. I know.
Oh yeah, I know what's going on.
I'm not making any mistakes.
No.
With my own tractor.
No, it's not that. Yeah. Well, yeah.
Let's be real. That was like a moment of like John knows best, and then got stuck in the trenches of swamp. That is like the Fiji clay soil that you were not getting out of.
And then later on in February, Seva started kindergarten in the village.
Oh yeah. Bubba,
So this was
Bubba's in the village in
it's
kindergarten.
weird looking back on this now, because this is kind of like us looking back on like where we were a year ago, and then also being like, oh, this is what we got to get ready for in like a month or two.
Yeah.
And so so being that Seva started school or kindergarten a year ago means that he started kindergarten
At
in a
3.
village at 3, a year ahead. And so that means that he's going into kindergarten, kindy again, this time at an official school.
At 4.
At Seaqaqa Muslim at 4. And so that means that that's coming up
in January. End of January.
Well, yeah. I think it's February, but...
No, January 30th, they start school.
Oh, okay. And so, yeah. I know, I think that'll be a steep learning curve for our little white guy.
Oh, okay. It's going to be a steep learning curve because from what we've gone into with the village kindy, it's lovely. It's so cute. I love the teacher, but because she is overloaded with so many children, and it's not even of like, the 5-year-old age, it's all the way from like 3 to 5. It's more of a preschool than anything, and she is just trying to manage all of them so they don't get the strict education that she could possibly give to them, because she is a very good teacher. When we go into the primary school that we're going into, it's a lot more strict, and so Sev and I will actually have to do something, which is good because he started when he was 3. He's gonna go when he's 4. The reason I have him in there so early is because if we ever decide to be back in the Canadian education system.
So for those of you who don't know, like, we have 2 kids. Eliki is currently 6 years old, and Sevanaya is currently 4 years old.
4. And we moved here
one is very dark-skinned, like me. That's Eliki, who's 6. And Seva, it's weird how we had 2 kids. One looks more like me, predominantly,
and one looks more like me.
Looks way more like Stephanie. And so
Blue
7 eyes, who we're talking about
freckles,
right now.
white skin, and Eliki, our oldest, is tan and darker eyes, just like his father.
For whatever reason. And so Seva's going into kindy in the new year.
Yeah, and we moved here, Sev and I was 1.5, and Eliki was, I believe, 3.5.
So he's lived most of his life in Fiji now. Yeah.
Yeah,
Seva,
definitely.
Yeah.
And I think, like, for the education system in Canada, from what I've heard from Fijian people that I am close to that have experienced both worlds, and people in Canada, when we were back this last season, just talking about what their children are learning in their school system, is that the Canadian curriculum is a lot more difficult and a lot more strict and vast. And I think part of that is because they're going into school learning or knowing English, where Fijians, the community is going in learning English, because most people predominantly learn Fijian at home or Hindi at home.
Right.
And they're going into the school system, and then it's their first step into learning English. And so obviously that's going to take a step back. Just like in Canada, we do a school called French Immersion. I think it takes a while to start doing your education in French versus just jumping in with English that you already know, and it's easier to learn in your mother tongue. So for our kids, we put them in a year early because I thought, well, if we ever start doing Canadian education, I'll put them back a class or a grade, so they're in their age category, and hopefully that will kind of line up with where they're at. The school education system in Fiji is actually quite good.
Yeah, I mean, we have I have cousins here who have completed the school system and received scholarships overseas and are now,
chemical engineers
in
the USA. That says
like
something. I would say that's a amazing, incredible job.
Yeah. So, yeah,
I think
education is a big thing that's on our mind right now because our kids are in that season of life, but also at the same time, education is not everything because, we intend to teach our kids, a lot of practical knowledge, and some of that will be taught to them by the education system, such as how to read, how to add, how to subtract, how to divide, but also like things that aren't taught to you by the education system, like how to do your taxes, how to, you know, to balance your accounts and stuff like that. And so, you know, there are things that we find the education system does really well, and there are some things that we find that the education system not even lacks, but things that we can teach our kids that we felt like we didn't get to learn during school, and therefore we will teach our kids.
Yeah,
And so
we've always said that, like, within school, if our kids want to be a doctor, we'll push them into better schools.
Yeah, so we'll figure this out, like, probably later on into their secondary schooling or junior high or senior high, wherever.
Yeah, but if they want to be a business person, then I'll say, okay, come mentor under your dad or under me.
Yeah.
And we'll see where we can get you to.
Yeah.
Right? But there's different things that children are interested in, different skill sets, and I don't think that we as parents can determine that. Obviously, Jonathan and I are passionate about business, and we'd love that for our children, but if that's not for them and they'd rather have a path of education, then we're more than happy to try to provide the best for them.
Yeah, for sure. So that takes us from basically beginning of school into February, which was our birthdays. So for those of you who don't know, Stephanie is a couple years older than me. My
Woohoo.
birthday's on cradle robber.
Yeah.
My birthday's
Ooh.
on February 23rd. Her birthday's on February 26th. And
Like
so
2 years apart.
2 years apart.
So Jonathan is 2 years younger, and I am
Yes.
2 years older.
So my 30th birthday was in 2022.
Yeah.
And so we did some exciting things on 2022. We kind of, I don't know, I guess we went all out.
Oh, we went all out.
Yeah, we went to a couple nice hotels, and we even got a helicopter transfer.
Yeah, we did not share that on Facebook. We just kind of kept that between us. For the transfer between our hotels, we took a helicopter, and honestly, it was so fun and terrifying and out of our budget, but it was his 30th, and honestly, I just thought, whatever, we'll make more money,
It's
we'll
funny
pay it
how,
back,
like, as
we'll just
humans, you're
let's
like,
do it.
You only turn 30 once. But it's
You
like,
do.
you also only turn 31 once. You also only turn 32 once. And 33 and 34 and 35.
So maybe we should go in debt every year for your birthday and live it up.
Oh my gosh. Hey, now we're talking.
And Jonathan's not even the birthday person, and we're talking about living it up on his birthday.
Really care less
Let's
about
go into
birthdays.
debt for my birthday.
So just so you guys know, like I'm looking through my pictures because pictures seem to be a great way of analyzing what happened last year. So February was really, really exciting because we actually spent it on the Coral Coast, which is where we are right now. We were in 4 and 5 star resorts though. And then in March, we had a backup in our sewer system in the village. Do you remember that? Where the
Of
where the
course.
toilet plugged up and
And we had no toilet for so long.
we had no toilet for a few weeks.
Yeah,
Yeah.
trust me.
What do we even do during that time? I don't even remember what we did during that time, but all I remember is digging a full new septic tank and then scrounging around for rocks.
Do you know
and
what we
stuff to
did
fill
during that
into.
time? We used the toilet in the medical clinic.
You're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
And I died a silent death every time I had to trudge across in the dark
Yeah.
to the toilet.
Oh, I need to use the washroom. I guess this means I have to walk across.
And as a woman, toilets for me are not optional. The guys are peeing in the bush, and I am just trudging across to the medical clinic.
Pretty much.
So, yeah.
And then we got that septic tank dug.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
And then in May, my parents and Dawn came.
Yeah, that's right. For a
Yeah.
month, we had
Yeah.
visitors. Yeah.
Well, the first visitors that we've ever had since we've been in Fiji.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was, I don't know.
A house full.
That
For
was
sure.
housefull.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was fun. And then we also got our horse Felix
Oh,
That's
our
right.
poor horse.
during that time.
I say poor horse because he got lost for a while. He was just recently found. Someone's taking care of him again, but poor buddy.
Yeah, we acquired him basically on a trade for a job that we did on the tractor, and it was not that the person couldn't pay their bill. It was simply that I said, "Hey, I want a horse because my uncle's getting older, and he could use some I guess, form of transportation up to the farm.
Yeah.
And look, my tractor's coming to your farm anyways. Instead of you paying me money, and then me giving that money back to you to buy a horse, let's just like, hey, I'll bring the tractor, you give me the horse. It's a fair exchange. Seemed to work out well.
And let's be real. I say like poor buddy because I'm like, he got through his rope and escaped somehow and was out in a fenced area where he had access to water and grass. He was probably living his best life.
Yeah, so while we were in Canada, apparently he got loose somehow. And then it just so happened, and I guess a blessing was that he got loose in an area where, it was all fenced off, so he was contained. And so basically he got to live the next 3 to 4 weeks of his life in this fenced off area, huge fenced off area, where he just got to basically eat as much as he wanted. And
anyway, we've told one of the young boys in the village that if they have found him and captured him, because John and I haven't had time to go out and just like wrangle the horse, we said, if you get him back into the village and get him back roped and all this kind of stuff, he's yours, as long as you treat him well. Yeah. And our kids can ride him once they get a little bit older, then he's all yours. And we just kind of realized, like, at the moment, we're a little bit too busy to kind of look after the horse fully, and we were relying on other people. And I think currently it's better to have someone else full-time responsible for him. For those of you who
would, made it this far in the podcast, like, the thing is, like, me and Stephanie don't have it all figured out.
No.
We don't know everything that we're doing. And, like, 1 year from now, 52 podcasts from now, like, we'll know so much more than we do today.
Can't wait.
And so, I can't wait. I wish we were there right now. I wish that all the hard lessons that we have to learn over the next 52 weeks, we can know right now.
Can I give you like $500 to pay all the dummy tax and be done?
$500? I'd pay that 10 times over.
Yeah.
Like, that's $500. It's not even equal up to it. So I think the next thing that happened is that we had that huge deal that we were supposed to have with the Cava fall through. So there's a person on this island that we're on right now in Vanua Levu in Nandi.
Very nice person.
Yeah, super nice people. That we were supposed to have this big deal.
Lovely people. They hosted us.
Yeah.
They welcomed our family.
Yeah.
Nothing but amazing feelings towards them.
But there just happened to be this big misunderstanding that, like, we were only going to be supplying them with waka, which is the root part of the grog plant, or we'll say the root part of the kava plant. And typically, and so what we've analyzed in or what I have analyzed in my very brief studies of Yangona or kava or grog or whatever you want to call it, is that the waka, or the root, is basically, of what is sold to the consumer, is about 20% of the weight of the overall product that is pounded up and either put into the pill or put into the powder that is then mixed into the liquid. And so when somebody says that they'll give you a price, and then you find out that that price that they'll give you is really, really decent, actually, but that price ends up then being only for 20% of the product.
Root.
Yeah, which is the root. That means that you have to end up figuring out what you're going to do with the rest of that tree or that plant to make up for the expense. Which means
because
that
for us, from the farmer, when you're buying it from the farmer, typically you're not just buying the roots, you're buying all the luena and the casa.
Luena being the flesh and a bit up on the stem. And so a lot of people in the Pacific will tell you that this is only waka. This is only the root. This is no part of the flesh part that is basically where the stem of the tree enters into the ground. It's only the roots. And so the luena is basically the flesh, is the direct translation. And so they say so most people will just advertise their products as only waka, only roots.
I think because it has the most cavalactones.
Yeah, so it has it's the most potent, basically, to boil it down. And so they say it's only waka. But let's like let's be honest, is that nobody makes money at that price point.
No.
No. And so nobody makes money at that price point, and yet everybody advertises like that's all that you get. But let's be honest, you get the waka, the roots. You get the lawena, which is the base part of the stem up from the roots. You also get the casa, which is just up from the base part of the stem, working your way up the branches a bit. And so, as much as I would like to admit that, like, most people say that they give what they say they give, it's not true. It's just simply not true. And so,
Well, you can't guarantee that. That's what you assume because you've looked at the financials of what happened. You can't guarantee that.
yeah, so I've looked. So the thing that I have done, in that we've spent a lot of time, and a lot of our time in Fiji doing. And when we say dummy tax, this is what we mean by dummy tax, and this is what we hope to help you, whoever's listening to this podcast, out by listening to this podcast, is that we have done the calculations, and we have figured out that like there's little to no money to be made in just selling the waka, which is the roots, to anybody, because you don't buy just the roots from the farmer, you buy the whole plant. And so when you buy the plant from the farmer, you have to figure out what you're going to do with the stem and the branches, because the farmer is not just going to sell you 20% of the plant. What are they going to do with the other 80%? And so our whole initiative in being in Fiji is that, like, what are we going to do, or how are we going to treat the farmers fairly so that they get the best result for their money?
So that's what I think, John. I think you're speaking from a perspective of treating the farmers fairly. Right. I think people make money on the waka, but they don't treat the people that actually plant it and do the hard work fairly.
No, I think you're right, because I know that there's people on the way to Lambasa, say from northern Vanua Levu, from Sangani, Beungunu, and those areas. They need to go shopping in Lambasa, so they gotta come south. So when they come south, they fill up 1 or 2 50 kg sacks full of Yangon plants. They come south, they know there's a guy on the way who's gonna pay them for these plants.
Yeah.
Then they just, on the way by, they make the transport that they're coming in turn into this guy's house, and he gives them, 50 cents on the dollar for what they're bringing into town.
Yeah.
They don't have a choice. So they sell it to him. He gives them 50 cents on the dollar. They take that $50 into town. He makes $100 on their $50 that he spent with them, and then he sells it to some exporter.
Yeah.
So you got desperate people coming from remote areas, and then you got me coming in there trying to, help everybody out. But I think, it was just a bit premature.
Yeah.
I guess
I think if you're going to try and do it ethically and pay everybody fairly, it's not a win-win for everybody, so we kind of had to remove ourselves. And we did honestly we've tried a lot of categories in it. When we first moved, we got told selling Cava packs of pounded Cava would be the way to go. So we tried that out with ladies in the village in different villages selling Cava. What we realized is the market's really flooded, and you would have to, for us, to make good enough money to make it worthwhile, times that one lady by 40 to 50 women selling all over different villages with enough volume to make it worthwhile.
The thing that you're competing with in Fiji is people who are satisfied to make 20 Fijian dollars a day. We'll call it $10 US a day.
Yeah.
And live life, $20 Fijian a day is enough to feed my family breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And tomorrow I'll make another 20 Fijian dollars a day. That means it's enough to feed my family breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Whereas we're talking US dollars, where you make 20 or 30 US dollars an hour, which is $200 to say $240 a day, you're not exactly worried about, what tomorrow brings exactly to the dollar. It's not just about putting food on the table anymore at this point.
Well, you also overseas have to pay rent and
Yeah, like the cost is
vehicles.
there, but it's just different.
It's different. Overseas, you have to work just as hard, but you have maybe $3,000 to $4,000 of bills to pay per month.
Yeah.
Where in Fiji, depends on who you are and what situation you are. If you're in the city, yes, you have to pay rent, so that's different. If you're in the village, kind of what our perspective has been, you don't have rent. So $20 a day, you're laughing.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah.
You're not worried about tomorrow. You're already retired. You're chilling on your veranda, making $20 a day, and everybody's eating what they want.
Yeah. So August saw me going to India. I think while I was in India, you were in Canada, right?
Yeah, it's weird timing. To be honest, not great timing. Our kids were in Fiji. I was in Canada. John was in India. Like, what kind of weird parent?
Yeah. So
Are
you were
we?
in Canada because we have a company still in Canada that provides us with most to all of our income, and
Yeah.
so you were back in Canada taking care of that. I was in India taking a look at machinery for the new company that we are still looking to start while we're in Fiji. Thank you to the gecko giving the shout out there, the old 1:27 a.m. shout out. And so yeah, I was in India and the kids were back home. I was only in India for like 6 or 7. Or I was only in India for like 4 or 5 nights, I think.
Yeah.
I was gone for like 6 or 7 days, I think, total.
So we had a young lady that's been nannying for us. She lives in our house 5 days a week, goes home for the weekends. I was taking the boys.
Yeah.
They're very comfortable with her. They're also in a village of their family, which is maybe 30 people
Yeah,
max.
so right now where we are in Seaqaqa, not to give you the exact location, but we are right beside a village that I think is 1,000 to 12 or 1,300 people.
Wow.
Which is insane.
And you can tell because there are people constantly coming up and down the beach. Like, it's crazy.
All over the place. And like where we live, there 30 to 40 people max. I mean, I guess
Definitely not 40.
At the Christmas season, there's 40 people in the village,
from
right?
yeah.
So
From visitors, from relatives outside of the village.
Yeah, that gives you an idea of where we live. And so, yeah, we're not used to this kind of commotion or traffic.
We're from a small village, small, quaint, cute community. And I feel very comfortable I feel very comfortable with our children being there. Just so you know, we left feeling fully confident with their safety. So.
Yeah. Yeah, no question about the safety. It was just a weird time that you were gone, I was gone. It wasn't like we were gone to Vanua Levu or we were gone to like another Pacific Island nation. We were gone like Stephanie was in Canada.
Yes.
Jonathan was in India. And then we were back with
I just want to make sure everybody knows we feel confident in our family and in the girl that was taking care of our children, and that they were still in our house and everything was okay.
Yeah. So September, we opened our coffee shop.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Yeah. That happened. That was a beautiful opening with Miles, Vanua Levu, and the gang. As far as the grand opening goes, that was awesome.
Yeah, it was very cool. For you guys who do not know Miles, he's a really cool musical artist.
Can you tell us who today's episode is brought to you by?
It's brought to you by Fresh Tea+Coffee.
There you go.
Find us in Seaqaqa, in between Limbasa and Savu. On your way, stop in, get some coffee, a sticky bun. You can hang out, chat, or you can take away for free and head on your way. So that's where today's episode is brought to you by. Anyway, back to...
It's crazy that we're sponsored by like our own business.
Oh my gosh.
So random. Wow. That's so cool.
Anyway, Miles is a really cool musician that we were in Suva. We heard him play and we went, yes, we need him for our coffee shop. He's a little out of our budget, but we need him. So we made it happen and we served 50% off everything. We had a really great turnout of a couple hundred people. It was over our capacity for a little coffee shop to support, but we crushed it out. We did well. Miles and his team did amazing, and I love their music, and we had an amazing grand opening. And so far, our staff and our team have been fantastic. We couldn't be happier of who we chose to hire.
Yeah, there's this thing in Fiji, like, when you start a business, and I don't care who you are in Fiji, but you don't trust your staff, because I
Yeah.
know many business owners in Fiji, and I'm saying this very confidently, and feel free to roast me in the comments, but I have yet to meet a business owner who trusts their staff.
Yeah, that's true.
But I trust my manager.
To the point where we left a month after the business opened for 7 weeks to Canada.
Oh, yeah. We opened in September. We've been gone over half the time.
Actually,
and you
we
know
got
what? The
back
business still makes us money.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, yeah, there's a lot of things that we got to figure out and that we do remotely. But you don't have to be. Businesses are less about product than they are about personnel.
That's true.
You can have the best product in the world and not have the personnel, and your product doesn't matter.
And you define those people that are diamonds in society and go, hey, I want you to work for me. But then also instill a passion in them for what you're doing. People will get behind your business and they love your business like you love it.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be some crazy unique idea. Like I said, it doesn't actually matter what your product is. And I want everybody who listens to it, who's made it this far in the episode, to realize it doesn't matter what your product is. It matters about your personnel.
Yeah.
Not product, personnel. You can sell ice to an Eskimo. If you have the right personnel, that's actually totally inappropriate in 2022.
John just learned this.
Yeah, feel free to sell ice to an Eskimo if you have the right personnel.
Oh my gosh.
Because it actually changes the game.
Yeah.
And we don't really care about coffee or anything of the sorts.
John is just saying that we don't care so much about like the business itself. We like coffee a lot, so that's why coffee stores seem to fit.
Yeah, coffee seemed obvious to us because it's the one thing that we consume every single day and that we
and
miss
lots
the
of.
most about Canada.
Yeah.
And so we're like, hey, we have a really cool team and we feel like they could really give great customer service in what area? Oh, coffee. That's something that we miss. So let's
Start
give
that for
these
them.
people and give our team an opportunity to give people really, really good local, organic, wild coffee. And so that's what we did.
And if they're so amazing to work themselves out of a job and they have a passion for something else and they want to do something else, let us know. And then we'll start another business for them where they can hire other excellent personnel and crush at that business.
Yeah, like one thing that
it doesn't matter what it is.
One thing that we've done is like, and that we try to establish with all our businesses is develop a system and a process for every situation that comes up so that there is a reference point for every individual who comes to that business so that every person can train a person under them to work themselves up to a management position, to a sales position, to out of basically that business to whatever their dream job is, and to create a business around them and their dream job. And basically that would mean that that person would be replaced by whoever was below them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So there is no losing in this situation. And so, yeah, it's not all easy and there are hiccups that we have to overcome. But I think that was probably our highlight. After the birthdays, after getting the tractor stuck, after, everything that happened with our kids going to school and all of that stuff, I think 2022 was a year of learning and a huge year of growth. And I think that 2023, we're going to have a lot of things coming up that are going to be very, very difficult and require a change of location, changes of situations. But we're trusting in our teams to be able to help us along the way. What do you think?
Yeah, and I think this year, John and I are talking about focusing on ourselves, and we're looking for a videographer right now, someone that can help us with our social media that yet to be found, someone that can hang out with us and just relax and not be
but get paid.
But get paid and not too crazy and put out content.
Here's what we're looking for. We're gonna pay for your food. We're gonna pay for your accommodation.
And travel.
We're gonna pay for your travel. What we need is somebody, and we're gonna pay
and
for
a
wage, obviously. But we need you to hold a camera, to edit for us, to post for us, and to help us with the content that we release.
Yeah, like we want to share our story, but it's hard to put out every single day when we're busy and we're going, we're dealing with actual life issues, and then at the same time going, oh yeah, we also need to share our lives with everybody.
Yeah.
And so that gets overwhelming trying to do both at times, and it would be really helpful to have somebody along to just be like, oh, I already documented that for you. I could share this for you.
Yeah.
Well, that'd be great. We'd love that. So we're just looking for someone that we can get along with.
Do you have a passion for, say, recording, doing video stuff, putting together sweet transitions, telling a story, and then making a video for YouTube, or putting a podcast together like the one that you're listening to right now, and then sharing that with the world?
You can get paid for it.
Yeah, and then get paid for it, and get your transport paid, and your
and
living
what we would
paid,
hope
and your
is you
meals
could
paid.
do a couple years with us, and then actually build a business out of it. And you may stay along with us, but you also may go to higher heights. We don't want you to stay mediocre. We want you to really soar.
Yeah. So we're gonna kill. Our goal is by 2030 to be, that's the year 2030. So what are we in right now? We're basically
2022.
We're almost in 2023.
Yeah.
So in 7 years, we're gonna be the most innovative company in the South Pacific.
That's
so
right.
Take that for what you will. You can come with us and join us on the journey to be becoming the most innovative company and being the content creator for the most innovative company by 2023.
And we're never...
come and join us and build your portfolio for yourself. If you want to do weddings or you want to do whatever, we're going to get you there.
And we're not day-to-day. We're long-term.
Yeah.
So for us, you can't look at, hey, this week didn't serve me. I need you to look at next year, the year after.
Yeah.
Keep going. Look long-term. Don't look at tomorrow.
Yeah. So.
I think we're about to wrap up.
Yeah. We're looking for a videographer, if you can't tell. Or a content creator / editor / helper with all things content.
Anyway, there's more memories from this year. There's more things to talk about, but it's getting late at night, and I think I'm done.
It's 20 minutes to 2.
We decided to do it late at night just because I was in the mood.
And our kids are sleeping, so
and
we're not going to interrupt it.
Yeah, so we thought we'd have a little chit chat.
All right, y'all. Episode 3. Thank you for listening. We're out.
Night.